Cosmic here, and welcome back to another Legends of Runeterra spoiler video. Today we have Freljord cards, which, well, tells us Trundle is going to come tomorrow, and I am just so excited because if you've seen any of my other videos, if you stop by the stream, this is the most, like, on-brand type of spoilers I could have asked for. Like, this is everything I wanted for Freljord and then more. This is actually insane. So, first off, we got a new keyword, Behold. Does something if you have that type of card in play or hand. So I like this one because it looks like it might be more flexible. So it's not going to be as, hard printed as Deep, where it has like that 15 restriction. So this gives them a lot more room to kind of play around with this in the future if they want to. And the cards that we're going to be talking about next, they all do reference 8 or higher. So I just want to take like a quick snapshot. That's why I have all these other random cards up saying like, what are some other cards that are played that cost 8 or more. And then of course, if you're in Freljord, hello, Warmother's Call. Is this our time finally? And then Trundle being, obviously the king late drop for most Freljord decks that want to play ramp, right? Or just accelerate your mana for those that are unfamiliar with that term. So this is great. I literally could not ask for more. So that's probably enough of a lead into that. Let's actually talk about the new cards. So just gonna go in order here. 2-drop, Faces of the Old Ones, 0-2 round start. So if you behold an 8+ cost card, so again, it just says, that's all. The only requirement doesn't have to be champion, doesn't have to be a spell. It's just 8 costs plus period. Get an extra mana gem this round. So I really like this because it's just another ramp tool. Now the downside is, right, if we think about Warding Stones, which is finally getting to see more play, it's a 2-drop 0-4 that just needs to stick around, right? So do we really need to play this on 2, right? It's not blocking anything, where Warding Stones at least gives you the chance to block. Most of the time it gets one free block in, which it talks about your effective health total, gives you more survivability, etc., etc. But what's nice about this too is that it's just another ramp card, right? So now we're shifting more towards the turbo ramp, where it's, we could play 9 different ramp cards if we wanted to, right? Faces of the Old Ones, Warding Stones, and Catalyst of Aeons. And obviously those last two I mentioned don't really have any restrictions. And if we're playing a ramp deck, well, we're gonna have an 8 cost higher card, more than likely. So the Ancient here on the end is a good example, but this leads me to believe that tomorrow, all signs point to us either having Trundle being an 8 cost card, which would just be obviously insane when we already have Trundle. So then you have a Trundle Trundle ramp deck with maybe it's even Warmothers on top of that. And then I'm sure there's still going to be an epic on top of this that's 8 cost or more. So maybe it's a super spell, right, or something else. But again, even Warmothers counts for this. Now you don't be rushing out there to play, 3 Faces of the Old Ones, 3 Warding Stones, 3 Catalyst of Aeon, 3 more Warmother's Calls, right? And just like going off in that direction, that might be a little bit too much. But again, if you know me, I'm going to try it. I'm going to try to go for the fastest ramp deck that we can. Then, of course, we use Shadow Isles from like more the control style of things. So I'm super excited about this. However, again, just from like an overall rating standpoint, right, it's more conditional. It costs 1 less, which can be nice. But the key thing that we've noticed is in the Warmother style of decks, you want to go from 3 to 5, so you can play like Hearthguard. Going from 2 to 4, or 2 and skipping over 3 to 4, I mean, you get Braum down, I guess, would be like your key thing, and maybe there's another key 4-drop tomorrow, which obviously in this case, Troll Ravager might make that argument, right? That's what you want to try to ramp into. But again, now that's 2 cards that are conditional around. You have to have an 8 cost or higher. So just from a consistency standpoint, I don't like it that much. Obviously, we're gonna have to wait till tomorrow to have like the final say on it, but at least of right now, until we see something that's totally worth the overall turbo drive, where we're going to have 9 ramp cards and have all these 8+ cost cards in our deck that work, it's going to be a careful balance, where I think that just Warding Stones and Catalyst of Aeons are just going to be better for your more generic ramp style of deck. But again, barring something really, really spicy tomorrow, we could see this card immediately see play. So I'm looking forward to it because, again, I've hit Masters every season with Freljord style of decks. She Who Wonders, and anyone that knows me, Warmother's Call actually is my favorite card from set 1. She Who Wonders is one that I want to, be good again. So this is all in line. I'm super ready. Moving on from there, we have the Troll Scavenger, 2-drop 1/3. Again, behold for an 8+ card. So again, showing that they have the flexibility here, which I really, really like. Grant me +3/+0. So this is going to be a 2-drop 4/3 in the right decks. Hello? I mean, that screams awesome to me, but then again, you have to consider it's fighting for like that Sentry slot where you do want to actually be drawing some cards and finding some of those higher costed units in your deck. But again, that said, if we get a couple more really sweet 8-drops, I could see this just being a staple in those style of decks. Like 4 attack on turn 2 is insane, right? I mean, it's just such a strong swing that you can do. And having the 3 health, especially on turn 2, you're not really, don't have to worry about anything like really blocking that, right? If you might run to someone that has the Arachnid Horror or whatever the 3/2 fearsome is, right? But that's about it. So if they try to play like an Elise or some smaller units, you just charge through it and get to smack them in the face for a ton of damage. So this is where it's going to be interesting. So now is this going to be more of a, and this with Troll Ravager, is it going to be more of a deck where you just have a couple high-end cards and you just like mulligan for them, so where like your 2, 4, and like maybe it's gonna be like a 5-drop card tomorrow that all are turned on with having an 8-drop that give you some strong effect, that you have like this more mid-range beatdown strategy. Who knows? I'm assuming the way this is going to be designed is this is just meant to be an early game blocker, and obviously attacker if you need it to, because it's just 4 attack is really good, but it's not something that just automatically jumps out and screams to me saying, hey, this is going to go in every style of ramp deck, because it's, you have to figure out how many 8+ card costed cards do I need to run to make sure that I'm hitting this consistently, on turn 2. And keeping in mind, on top of that, most of the time, and I guess in the vast majority of matchups, right, you're going to be mulliganing for your ramp pieces, because that is the most important part of your deck, other than just if you have like if you're doing like a slightly weird version where you have Hearth cards, and maybe you can keep the Hearth card anyways, right? So you have to take those things into consideration as well. So again, at least today, I'm rating these first 3 cards probably about average, because I'm sure that tomorrow we'll see some kind of archetype build where this really is going to shine. But at least today, and knowing that our ramp decks that we have and what those look like probably aren't making the cut. Then for our 4-drop, we have Troll Ravager. Again, summoned, 8-cost card, or behold, 8+ cost card, regeneration. So this one I like a lot more. We know how strong regeneration is, and this has 5 health as a 4-drop. It is thick for this card. So, and the fact that it has 3 attack means it's blocking fearsome. It's, blocking and or just killing a bunch of those 3-drop lower units. This card is, okay, I guess I lied. This one I'd rate slightly above average, because regeneration is just busted, right? If you think about this card, and then also just like what it enables in terms of, if you have Fury of the Norths, or maybe you're just pairing it with like Demacia, where you have like a single combat or something, there's a lot that this card can potentially do, that 5 HP on the end is just insane. And not to say that we're going to go running back to Targon, right? But think about like the types of spoilers that we've been getting. Just having the permanent buffs put on this card, right? So just attack once with like Mentor of the Stones, it becomes a 5/7 regeneration that you could then bump up even more with those gems, right? That the Mentor is going to provide you. Now, again, going back to an earlier discussion, I guess like 2 days ago now, sure, you have all these big stats, but what are you doing with it, right? You still have to give it Overwhelm, or you still have to give it Elusive, right? You got to figure out something else that you could be doing. However, what's really nice about this does start to line up pretty well with the Ursine that, if all your units have 5 or more power, give them Overwhelm, right? So we might actually get to see that kind of blend into this strategy, where it shouldn't be that hard to pump them up a few points of stats to now your entire board is getting Overwhelmed. So again, then you have to have the Plunder side of things. Is it really worth, getting the ping effects? Either way, I really do like this card. Again, it's kind of the wait and see, but we know how strong regeneration can be. The other thing is, like, I thought about this in more of the Battle Scars deck. So for those that don't know, that's like a Freljord and Noxus variant that has things like Vlad, Braum, all that stuff. But it's difficult to get the regeneration in that. So I'm wondering if there's going to be, again, we really have to see Trundle and what the epic is going to be tomorrow. But is there any way we can really, abuse it in that deck? Maybe not, just because, again, they're so limited on the 8+ cards. But anytime I see regeneration, that's like what I think about. It's like, oh, it just wants to take damage and survive turn after turn. Well, we have champions that lead into that ability. And again, just with how beefy 5 HP is, it's a card that says I want to fit in somewhere. So I think, as I was talking about Troll Scavenger being that more like mid-range, just blocky, beefy battle card, I think Troll Ravager does that a little bit better. So now to go back all the way to faces of the old ones, that's where you would go, okay, well, I want to see faces of the old ones so I can play Troll Ravager at Mono 3. So I get it. That's kind of where they're trying to take it. But is that going to be worth it? We have to wait and see, especially because if we think about the ramp decks today and what they're running, there's a lot of cards potentially that we're swapping out. So either this is the new ramp deck, maybe it's just going to be two different but similar style of decks where you play some of the ramp cards, but you have a different, going for Warmothers versus going for an 8-drop and having like an earlier late game, if that makes sense, right? Because Warmothers, you have to stall out turn after turn, get that advantage, where this has potential to just close out the game a lot sooner. And I bring that up because of the last card on here, which is, in my mind, just insane. So, Uzgar, I guess is how you say that, the Ancient. It's an 8-cost card. Cool. Turns on the entire Behold keyword, which we're expecting to see tomorrow. It has 7 attack, 7 HP, super tanky. And then it has Challenger and Regeneration. Why? Like, this is such a good thing to see in Freljord. And obviously we can think about the Rhymefang Wolf, where you had Challenger, but then you had to work with like multiple freeze effects, right? Where this card is just like, look, I'm going to regenerate turn after turn. I can ramp this out super early, get it down on, let's just say, like mana 5, whatever the math comes out to be. And you're like, all right, well, what are you going to do about it? Do you have like some big answer, right? Like trying to thermo beam this even seems miserable if they can easily protect with the Fury of the North after. It's just a really big sticky body that says, I am going to control your board and, make sure that you don't have any units left. So this one, it's kind of, is it going to make the cut for like a Warmothers, where you probably don't like hate to hit it because it's still going to have that regeneration and Challenger factor. And again, 7 attack, 7 HP is good enough for to attack into mostly everything that what people are playing in the current meta, save like Leviathan, right? I guess Leviathan lives with 1 HP, but it's overall pretty good. Like I really do see an opportunity for this card, and I'm definitely rating this one in particular above average because of, one, it helps the keyword Behold, and we're expecting to see a lot more on this tomorrow, right? That's only the logical conclusion that you can make. But then also just in terms of in the ramp style of decks, this is a very real threat that you can drop early and is gonna aggressively punish your opponent's board and maybe hold them off from playing some of those more value units they had in their hand, right? Because suddenly you can't just tap out, right? For like, I play this on 5, you play a Hearth card, it's like, all right, well, do you have a Frostbite? Not a lot of people are running that. You probably have Brittle Steel, attack your guy, and I still have this big unit. Cool. So I really do like what this is, aiming to do for the Freljord region. Just in general, Challenger is something that is pretty rare, all things considered. So Challenger on a big body where you don't have to, combo off multiple extra cards just to kill their unit, I'm all for it. So we have to wait to see what the other big ramp cards are, but super, super spicy. So with that, we got 2 more cards. And I'm so happy that they revealed this today, so people will stop looking at me funny when I said this. But if you look at the data mines, for whatever reason, and I guess Call of the Wild is going to be it, Trundle has just a slew of unique voice lines with Poros and Elnuks. Or is it Yetis? One of the two. I think it's Yetis. Would make more sense. But Poros was like the one odd one because there's like a new Poro that we're getting. And it's just like, here's all these weird voice lines, not with any of these other cards that we've seen, but it's just like, hey, this is pretty cool. Like we finally have a Call of the Wild. So actually, I'm going to talk about this one first, I guess. For the top 4 cards in your deck, draw each Yeti, Poro, or Elnuk, then shuffle the rest of your deck. So, me being the combo player that I am, right? I like this for 2 reasons. So, anybody that knows that Aurora Borealis is one of my favorite cards from set 2, I just really like Freljord. You hopefully have caught on to that by now. But what's unique about this is 2 things. So, let's think about the Elnuks, right? So, a while ago, there was, and I played this on stream too, there was the Troop of Elnuks infinite looped style of deck, right? You play Troop of Elnuks, you have the counterfeit copies where you just shuffle more of them into your deck, and then you just kind of keep spitting out these Elnuks, right? Now we have Call of the Wild, which it's only the top 4 cards. I really think they could have gave us a few more, and I get they can't because it's drawing them. But I really like this as a possible combo enabler, right? So, yes, you're increasing the chances of you seeing those troops when you counterfeit them, but there are some times where you just whiff and it feels bad. So this allows you to then find that Troop of Elnuks to then fill up your board turn after turn after turn. Also, kind of in a similar vein, right? If we think back to Heart of the Fluff, it is a kind of a rough card to try to play, right? In my personal opinion, Aurora Borealis is just better because I'd rather go wide with my units instead of tall, but you can pretty easily craft a deck that then is Aurora Borealis, you play Heart of the Fluff, and this helps you dig for Heart of the Fluff if that's what you really want to be doing. So, Again, it's a 3-cost burst, so you can bank the spell mana for it. It's only digging top 4. I'd actually have to sit down and brew with this. So in terms of, does the average deck probably want this? No, not at all. That's why I should probably rate it abysmally, right? In terms of the overall meta scope, right? In terms of like Freljord decks. But because it is, in my mind, a more combo enabler ready card, in that one type of instance, I could see it working out very, very well. So I'm excited for it. I don't think it's going to be, meta defining or super groundbreaking at any time soon, but I do like it. And of course, I'm going to try to build a deck with it. Maybe not the first day of the set, but pretty soon. I really like these cards. Now, a card I do think is going to be actually insane, and you can tell me in the comments if I'm rating this way too high, is Troll Chant. 2-cost burst, give an ally +2, so you can also like heal them, don't forget, and then give an enemy -2. So I really like that this is the first thing I want to acknowledge, like, and maybe it's just me, but like the first time I read this, it was like, if they're in combat, right, like those pairings, right, like the attacker and defender, like swap those two. But no, this is just anything. This is, I can, save my first unit and then, nerf their 4th unit in a row and give it -2 so my other unit survives. Like, this card seems insane. Now, Freljord, of course, is known for all their random battle tricks that they're going to have access to, all the Frostbite, Fury of the North, now Troll Chant. I think it's going to be more, it's going to be a little bit difficult to see, like, which pieces you're taking, of course. Obviously, if you're playing Ashe, you take the Frostbite stuff, right? Makes sense. But I really do like this card just for the opportunity to just save what you need. And then again, hopefully just deny them damage on the other side. So this is incredibly flexible. We know how good just changing, plus or minus a stat can be. And now it's +or -2 in the way that you want it. Now, of course, the downside, I guess I will say here, is that it's a very defensive card, right? So if you're trying to be more aggressive, you can think more of like Fury of the North, right? That can be used both ways. Frostbites, again, can be used both ways, especially if you're just trying to harsh winds, get some extra trade-ins. This one doesn't help you get in any of that extra damage in the same way, where you don't always get to line up your units, right? Like a +2, -2 might not be enough unless it's on the same one, and then of course it's like a +4 shift. It's a lot harder to get kind of the same value out of. That said, as we think about the Behold keyword and what that means again for more ramp style of decks, this seems pretty good. Again, the caveat that I'll add here, 90% of the time when we think about a ramp deck, it goes with Shadow Isles, and Shadow Isles just has the better control cards. So then it becomes, okay, well, we're a ramp deck, but are we more spell heavy focused? Are there units we care about in the early game that can get value from Troll Chant? Or is this going to be just a mid-range card? So I think from at least as of right now, the time of recording this, right, not seeing tomorrow's spoilers yet, I think Troll Chant is going to be my highest rated card overall, just because I think it's going to be the most flexible, right? So it has a chance to go into a wider net of Freljord decks. And then the 7/7, the Ancient, right, is going to be my other like top pick for, yep, this seems sweet for a ramp deck. This is everything I want. Let's throw it in there. Hopefully it makes the cut type of thing. So I really like this. This gives us a pretty solid idea of what to expect tomorrow. Again, I could not be any more excited. This is ramp. I love Freljord for this reason. Like, this is my archetype. So please, please let Trundle be an 8-cost card tomorrow, and let there be like another super awesome 8-cost epic that just dominates the board when it comes into play. Obviously not overpowered by any means, but if you think back to like the first list I provided, or I guess we can just go back really quick, right? If you think about this first list, like what's in Freljord, so again, this keyword is in Freljord, so we gotta think about what's in region. At least right now, we have Trundle and Warmother's Call, and then I guess obviously the Ancient, if you want to count that, as the cards that we have. That's it, which is fine, right? We're probably running Trundle and Warmother's Call anyways, but that's still pretty limited, and we don't have enough 8+ costed cards. So again, it's really going to come down to how many of these are making the cut in the new meta, and what does that deck list look like, and how often can we truly have an 8+ costed card in our hand that is going to line up well with our board, especially if we think about these the 4 units that we talked about, right, or these first 3, I should say, that all have that condition. So again, I'm super excited for this. I cannot wait. I really wish Trundle was coming sooner. I know we have to wait till tomorrow, but it's gonna be Sunday, so I'll get to do a video. But good stuff. I hope you're excited. I know some people are like, well, you just ramp up your mana and you just play big dumb idiots. It seems like a very simple and straightforward archetype. I get it. I just like playing big dumb idiots. That's a me thing. I get it. But I also just really like Warmother's Call. And also keep in mind, things like Aurora Borealis, you really do want to be in a heavy ramp deck just so you can utilize that mana before your opponent can set up. And that PNZ Freljord deck I made was actually really good. So I could see that more of a style adapting to some of the cards that we've seen today. So with that, that is another day of spoilers in the books. Let me know in the comments below what is your favorite card. And of course, if you'd like to see more Legends of Runeterra videos, please make sure to subscribe. That does help me out a ton. And drop a like if you can. So with that, we'll be back tomorrow with another spoiler. But until then, be safe, drink your water, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.